You've spent years believing that back pain can only be solved with medication, expensive physiotherapy, or risky surgery. But Buddhist monks have been using these 13 specific meditation poses for 2,500 years that naturally realign your spine, working from the inside out. When you understand that your spine is not just bones and muscles, but an energy channel that responds directly to your mind state, you discover that accumulated tension can be released through conscious positions that unlock not only physical pain, but also the emotional stress you carry on your back. Modern science now confirms what Buddhists have always known. Your spine can heal itself when you stop fighting the pain and start working with it through these ancient techniques. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment from what part of the world you're watching, get comfortable and relax. Let's begin. Have you ever wondered why Buddhist monks, who often sit cross-legged for long hours, seem to suffer so little from back pain compared to many of us? There is a deep, ancient reason behind that, and it has everything to do with how Buddhism understands the human spine. In Buddhist tradition, the spine is not just the column of bones and nerves running down our backs. It is seen as a central channel that affects not only our physical posture, but our emotional and spiritual well-being. For centuries, Buddhist monks have understood the spine as being central not only to sitting, but to life itself. The spine is regarded as the axis mundi, which basically means the world's axis or pillar. In Buddhist imagery, the axis mundi connects the realm of the earth we physically occupy with higher realms of consciousness above us. This idea actually pops up in many ancient civilizations, but Buddhist texts and oral teachings spend a lot of time on it, giving it a practical role in daily spiritual life. The implication is that there is something very important going on in our spines. They are not just structural supports, they are the bridge between our bodily existence and our ability to access deep calm or wisdom. A lot of us think of our backs as just something that can get sore after a long day, or maybe gets injured after too much lifting or sitting. But for Buddhist practitioners, back pain is not always just about physical stress. Instead, they see it as a sign that something is off in our total well-being. When a monk or a meditation teacher talks about back tension, they often ask not only about posture, but also about what sort of stress, fear, or anxiety you might be carrying in your mind, and even in your heart. In this view, the spine mirrors what is going on internally. Buddhists believe that physical pain along the spine quite often begins with an emotional pattern that gets stuck in the body. That might sound strange if you are not used to thinking this way, but there is a practical reason for it. If you have ever felt a stressful event as a tightness in your neck or back, you are already halfway to understanding this ancient teaching. In daily monastic life, monks are trained to observe what is happening in their spine when they feel certain things emotionally. They learn to notice if fear shows up as a knot between their shoulders, or if guilt creates tension in their lower back. The core belief is that unresolved stress, guilt, sadness, fear, or simply carrying too much emotional weight gets stored along our spine and creates blockages, not just metaphorically but as real, physical discomfort. Instead of going straight for a massage or a painkiller, Buddhist practitioners are encouraged to address these blockages directly through meditation and mindful observation. The technique is not about ignoring pain or pretending it is not real. It is about tuning in so carefully to your inner life that you spot the emotional root causes that might be hiding underneath physical symptoms. Another interesting part of this teaching is the importance placed on internal observation and self-awareness. Buddhist tradition teaches that a lot of healing has to start inside. While stretching and movement do play a role, the real transformation happens when someone learns to sit still, pay close attention, and listen to the messages pain is bringing. Sometimes the pain will reveal anxiety, other times it uncovers sorrow or even hidden resentment that was not being addressed. Buddhist teachers encourage the practice of meditating with the pain, gently asking yourself what message it has, then breathing deeply into that area. Over time, as the emotional or spiritual issue surfaces and is acknowledged, the pain often lessens or moves elsewhere. The idea is not that every back pain is emotional, but that a surprising portion of it is, and this part of it won't fully heal from physical treatments alone. It is interesting to note that hundreds, even thousands of years before there were MRIs or physical therapy techniques, Buddhist practitioners had already developed highly effective strategies to keep their spines healthy. Meditation, particularly in certain postures, was developed as a type of body tuning, almost like running a diagnostic check on your alignment and emotional baggage. Sitting with a straight spine during meditation is not just about discipline or appearances. It is about opening up that central energy channel, allowing what Buddhists call life force, or chai, to move freely from the base of the spine up to the crown of the head. Modern science, especially in the growing field of mind-body medicine, is now catching up. Researchers have started studying mindfulness, meditation, and their effects on the body, especially the spine, and are finding that what the Buddhists described in broad energetic terms does have a physical explanation. Techniques aimed at relaxing the mind, lowering stress, and focusing on posture all seem to have measurable effects on back tension, inflammation, and muscular alignment. Imaging and brain scan studies show that meditation can change how we process pain signals. This supports the ancient Buddhist idea that the mind, spirit, and spine are tightly connected. Moreover, now there is evidence that repeated stress or emotional trauma can settle in the body as chronic tension, especially in the muscles and connective tissues surrounding the spine. This matches what many modern pain doctors see, especially when someone shows up with back pain but little or no physical cause can be found. The medical field calls this psychosomatic pain, which just means pain that starts in the mind but is experienced in the body. But for Buddhists, this is not a disorder. It is a normal, expected part of being human, and with training and awareness, it can often be managed from the inside out. There's also another subtle but important lesson in these teachings. In Buddhist monasteries, even though monks might do a lot of chanting, cleaning, walking, and manual labor, their underlying routine involves a lot of seated meditation and mindfulness practice. What prevents them from suffering the kind of chronic back pain seen in modern offices where people sit all day glued to screens? The difference, Buddhists would say, is in the attitude and technique. Their tradition trains them from a young age to sit with awareness, always checking in with the spine, feeling it as a living energy channel, not a piece of rigid furniture. They notice before things get too tight or misaligned, and they use breathing techniques to consciously soften those areas. Also in their culture, pain is not necessarily viewed as an enemy, but as a messenger. If pain arises, that does not automatically mean damage or injury. It might be an early warning, a sign to pay attention. By observing the pain mindfully, monks train themselves to respond with gentle movements or positional adjustments, rather than ignoring the sensation or pushing through mindlessly. This keeps the spinal channel open and healthy, and stops small issues from turning into big, chronic ones. Part of the daily practice is what can be called body scanning, systematically bringing attention up and down the spine during meditation. Monks look for areas that feel blocked, tight, or even numb. By simply paying gentle attention to these places and accompanying that awareness with calming breaths or positive intention, they believe energetic blockages are loosened and over time, released. This is an active process, not just sitting and hoping things get better, but using every minute of meditation as an internal tune-up. Another interesting aspect is how custodians of this tradition developed specific poses and movements designed to keep the spine flexible and open. These are not elaborate exercises, but simple, mindful shifts in position. Each one is intended to encourage energy to flow without interruption and to help the person sitting find the most natural and relaxed alignment, free of tension and strain. This is where the ritual aspect of meditation posture becomes both spiritual and practical, blending intention and anatomy into a holistic approach. Buddhist teachings warn against seeing the body as just material and separate from mind. The spine in particular is treated as a boundary zone where physical symptoms and emotional or spiritual issues overlap and become visible. For example, if you meditate and notice your spine is out of alignment, this may reflect a mental state of imbalance or preoccupation. Fixing your posture can then become an act of resetting not just your body, but also your mood and focus. Also crucial to their approach is the focus on gentle consistency instead of harsh intervention. Injuries to the spine in Buddhist tradition are best avoided through ongoing maintenance, a little observation and small corrections day in, day out. If discomfort appears, the lesson is not to panic or overcorrect, but to patiently listen and make small, mindful shifts. This is quite different from the modern tendency to ignore pain until it gets serious and then rush to find a major fix. Breathing is also a pillar of this practice. Monks are taught that breath and spine are partners in health. Deep, slow breathing helps to soften spinal muscles and release held tension, and every exhale is seen as a chance to dissolve blockages, be they emotional burdens or physical knots. This pairing of breath and spinal mindfulness is believed to help unclog stuck energy, leading to a feeling of lightness, clarity, and sometimes even joy. One more thing worth pointing out is that Buddhist tradition recognizes the many layers of pain and healing. Not every ache will have its origins purely in the mind, and physical injuries or illness do occur. However, even when the root is physical, there is value in using meditation and deep awareness to speed up healing, lower stress, and bring ease to the process. This holistic method does not reject Western medicine, but invites it into a wider framework where body, mind, and spirit work together. Even modern rehabilitation programs are now borrowing this perspective, teaching patients how to meditate or use breathwork to manage pain, anxiety, and healing. It is also clear that social and environmental factors play a role in back health, but Buddhist traditions focus on what can be controlled, the inner environment. That means rather than blaming chairs, beds, or accidents alone, a person is encouraged to see how their daily mental patterns, habits, and emotional landscape affect spinal health. This invites an attitude of self-responsibility and empowerment. With all of these insights, it becomes easy to see why, for thousands of years, Buddhist monks have tied their meditation practices so closely to spinal care. The axis mundi metaphor is not just abstract philosophy, it is a lived experience, cultivated every day through careful posture, self-awareness, and a belief that the spine holds the key to our life energy, health, and even emotional resilience. Despite the simplicity of these ideas, they have stood the test of time. And now, growing scientific research is showing that there is more to spine as energy channel than just ancient myth. This understanding of the connection between the mind, emotions, spirit, and spine offers practical lessons anyone can use, whether you are dealing with chronic back problems or just interested in better health and self-care. Regular mindful attention to the spine, as taught in Buddhist tradition, does not just prevent or reduce pain. It becomes a powerful practice for tuning into yourself, aligning your life, and opening doors to deeper well-being that goes far beyond the physical. Thinking about the way our everyday emotions sit quietly in the background, you might be surprised to learn how much they can directly impact our back health. Most of us don't usually connect what's going on in our minds with the tension or pain we feel in our shoulders, neck, or lower back. But if you ever notice how your shoulders tense up when you get bad news, or how your back feels sore after a really stressful week, that's your body quietly responding to your emotional world. The Buddhist perspective looks at this connection very closely, paying careful attention to how emotional stress builds up along the spine over time and transforms into pain that sometimes lingers for weeks, months, or even years. When you break it down, daily life is full of small stresses. They can add up: arguments at home, deadlines at work, worries about money, or just the non-stop pace of modern living. These pressures don't just stay in your head. Your whole body reacts, often in ways you don't notice at first. Your muscles might contract slightly every time you feel worry. Maybe you catch yourself clenching your jaw or gripping your phone a little too tightly. The spine, with all its interconnected nerves and support muscles, regularly carries the brunt of this stress. And the interesting thing is, people who follow Buddhist practices are taught to notice these physical changes as soon as they start, because the sooner you spot tension, the easier it is to release. So what does emotional accumulation really mean for the body, especially for the back? Think about every time you've felt nervous before a big presentation or upset after a bad day. That clenching or stiffening doesn't just vanish. Some of it settles deep in the muscles that support the spine. Every tight muscle in your neck or shoulders, every knot in your lower back can be a small piece of emotion that your body hasn't processed yet. Over days, weeks, and years, this adds up. People might start with occasional tightness and, before they know it, are dealing with nagging chronic back pain that isn't explained by injury or visible damage. Different emotions set off different reactions. For example, anxiety has a way of curling the shoulders forward and making the muscles along the upper spine contract, as if the body wants to protect itself from something. Anger can create a sense of heat or rigidity, especially in the mid-back. Guilt or sadness might weaken the core and let the lower back muscles slump or overcompensate. Of course, not everyone reacts in the same way, but emotional states almost always show up somewhere along the spine. Buddhist teachers and practitioners train themselves to pay close attention to these signs. A sore spot that flares up after an argument, a pinched feeling when thinking about an upcoming challenge, or an old ache that returns in stressful times. There have been studies in the last few decades looking at the actual relationship between emotions and physical pain. Scientific research from the late 20th century and beyond has found strong evidence that psychological stress isn't just a feeling, it creates real changes in the way our muscles and nerves operate. Research has shown that people with high levels of anxiety, for example, are much more likely to develop neck and shoulder pain. Those with depression or deep-seated sadness are at increased risk for lower back issues. This relationship goes both ways. Pain can increase anxiety or sadness, and those emotions can, in turn, make pain worse, creating a difficult cycle. This is exactly why so many Buddhist approaches to health emphasize breaking this loop, not through force, but through gentle awareness and presence. Meditation is the main tool here. By sitting quietly, breathing deeply, and focusing on what's happening inside, a person can begin to identify where tension likes to hide. At first, it might be difficult to sit still and notice what's happening underneath the surface. Maybe the back starts to ache, the shoulders burn, or the mind races. Buddhist practitioners are taught not to judge these feelings but to observe them and even thank them for showing up, as this is usually the first sign that stored up emotional stress is ready to be released. When someone practices meditation regularly, they get better at sensing subtle shifts in their posture and muscle tone. Instead of ignoring a tightness in the lower back until it turns into pain, they can spot it early, breathe into it, and perhaps stretch or adjust their position gently. Over time, this leads to less accumulation of stress in the spine, and when it does build up, as it sometimes will, practitioners use meditation to help it move out of the body, rather than letting it settle and take up permanent residence. One of the most useful Buddhist practices in this context is the body scan. This practice is simple. You sit or lie down, close your eyes, and focus your attention on different parts of your body, one at a time, moving slowly from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. When you reach the back and spine, the goal is to really feel what's happening there without trying to change anything at first. You notice tightness, pulsing, heat, cold, or even areas that feel numb or shut down. You can then breathe deeply, sending your breath and gentle attention into those places. This isn't magic. It's simply giving your nervous system permission to relax, letting muscles unclench and old tension melt away. The relationship between the mind and the back goes a step further when it comes to past experiences. For many people, big emotional events such as loss, heartbreak, or trauma can create a lasting echo in the body. The spine, with its complex web of nerves and support structures, seems to be one of the main places where these echoes hang on. Several studies have found that individuals with a history of emotional trauma often report more chronic musculoskeletal pain, especially in the back. This does not mean the pain is made up or imagined. It just means the body is holding on to something, sometimes long after the original wound has healed. Release in Buddhist thinking doesn't come from force. Instead, it comes gradually, by shining the light of awareness on these painful areas and letting the body slowly let go as it feels safe. During meditation, a practitioner might find that a certain thought or memory comes up right when their back feels tense. They watch that thought or memory, breathe into it, and sometimes, after a while, the muscle starts to release a little. Repeat this over days or weeks, and chronic pain often gets lighter, or even disappears altogether. What makes this so powerful is that it gives people a real sense of agency. Instead of being passive in the face of pain, they can participate in their own healing process. On the scientific side, this idea is gaining more support. Medical studies within the last 30 years have documented how emotional stress, held for a long time, changes the way the brain perceives pain signals coming from the body. Essentially, the brain gets used to feeling pain and can become trapped in a cycle of overreaction, even when injuries have healed. Meditative practices have been shown to reduce the brain's sensitivity to these signals, teaching the brain to calm down and respond with less alarm. The result is that pain, especially in the back and spine, becomes much easier to manage without relying exclusively on medication or invasive treatments. Some therapists are now blending Eastern and Western ideas, encouraging people in pain to journal about their emotions, meditate, or talk about stress while also addressing physical symptoms. This approach fits well with Buddhist teaching, which does not draw a hard line between mind and body. It's all one system, and caring for emotional health is seen as essential to physical health, especially when it comes to long-term back pain. Practical steps can help take this understanding from theory to real life. After a difficult day, try spending a few minutes with eyes closed, focusing attention all along the spine from the base to the neck. Ask quietly if any part feels tight, sore, or uncomfortable. If you find an area, take a few slow breaths and imagine exhaling out the stress there. Some people even place a hand on their back to offer warmth and reassurance. Over time, this small ritual can be enough to stop everyday stress from piling up. It's simple, doesn't require special equipment, and can often make more difference than you'd expect. Encouragingly, people who integrate these Buddhist-inspired techniques report improvements not just in pain, but in overall well-being. They sleep better, have less anxiety, and notice more energy. Their awareness of their body becomes sharper, so they stop the downward spiral before it starts. They also find that even in tough times, they can soothe their own nervous system and regain a sense of control. While not every form of back pain is due to stress or emotions, there are definitely cases where medical attention is needed. Recognizing the emotional component opens another door to relief. For most people, addressing emotional tension along the spine is not about blaming themselves, but about understanding that pain is complex and has many layers. If the spine is like a sponge for emotion and stress, it's worth learning how to gently squeeze out what you don't need anymore, so your body can find balance again. In cultures where meditation is taught from an early age, people learn early on to check in with themselves. Checking posture, noticing breath, and taking a mental inventory of stress points is just a normal part of the day. Modern life doesn't always encourage these quiet pauses, but adopting them even for a few minutes can reduce the buildup of tension dramatically, especially for those with sedentary jobs or high-stress lifestyles. Buddhist-inspired mindfulness does not promise a life without stress, but it does offer tools for noticing and releasing it before it hardens into real pain. Breathing plays a crucial role in the process. The act of taking slow, intentional breaths signals to the nervous system that everything is all right, reducing that fight or flight response that tightens muscles and shortens the breath. When you notice tension in your back, even a few rounds of deep, slow inhales and long, soft exhales bring real relief. Breath becomes a bridge between what you're feeling inside and what's showing up in your body. When emotional tension becomes chronic, meditation practice often encourages people to go a step further, addressing not just day-to-day stress, but unresolved events from the past. This takes time, but with patience, the body starts to feel lighter, aches start to fade, and mobility returns. Meditation, in this way, serves as a safe space to process emotions that never had a chance to be fully felt, sometimes leading to breakthroughs that have both emotional and physical results. Beyond the physical techniques, Buddhist philosophy also highlights compassion for yourself and your body. Being gentle and patient, not frustrated when pain doesn't vanish right away, is key. The spine, after all, carries not just your body weight, but the ups and downs of your human experience. A lot of people report that even after years of pain, when they start paying compassionate attention to their stress and emotional life, things start to shift. The change might not happen in one day, but small improvements add up. Over time, regular self-check-ins, mindful breathing, and kind attention help the spine recover its flexibility and resilience. It's worth mentioning that modern technology sometimes makes it harder to stay connected with our bodies. Spending hours at a screen can distract from the signals your back is sending. That's why bringing moments of mindfulness into your tech-filled day is more important now than ever before. Stretch, breathe, and take a minute to feel what your body is telling you. Even a little awareness is better than none at all. Bridging this age-old wisdom with current scientific research helps break down the old myth that back pain is only physical or only emotional. It's both, and often at the same time. By learning to recognize and deal with the emotional roots of tension, you give yourself another powerful tool in the battle against chronic discomfort. Instead of feeling helpless, you can take simple, accessible steps every day to help your back heal and prevent pain from taking hold in the first place. Step by step, improvement is real. Every moment of attention to your own stress and tension, each breath given to a tight spot in your back, is another small move in the direction of healing. Whether you follow Buddhist tradition, combine Western and Eastern approaches, or simply learn a few mindful practices for your own life, addressing emotional stress is an essential and effective part of caring for your spine. Every single bit of awareness and care can make daily life a little lighter and the burden on your back a little less heavy. Science has become very interested in what meditation can actually do for the body, especially when it comes to treating pain along the spine. The conversation around back pain and stress isn't just a matter of personal impressions anymore. Over the last few decades, researchers have looked into meditation and discovered a whole list of ways it changes how the body and mind experience pain. If you've ever wondered whether sitting down to breathe for a few minutes daily can really make a difference for your back or neck, there's now solid evidence that the answer is yes, sometimes in ways that traditional medicine hadn't expected. A key part of this research looks at inflammation, which is an underlying cause of a huge amount of chronic pain, including that sore or stiff feeling that sticks around for weeks or months. Inflammation is basically the body's response to problems or injury, but if it lingers, it starts to harm instead of help. Scientists have done blood tests on people who meditate and found that certain important markers of inflammation, these are signals the body releases when it's stressed or hurt, begin to drop after several weeks of steady practice. This drop is connected with less pain and more flexibility, especially in areas that are usually tight, like the back, shoulders, and neck. If you're dealing with that every day, nagging back pain, this is real news. It suggests that meditation changes more than your mood. It can influence the very chemistry that causes pain in your body. Another big factor is the stress hormone cortisol, which spikes when life gets overwhelming. Cortisol tells your body to get ready for emergencies, but staying on high alert for too long takes a toll. If you are always worried or anxious, your body never gets a full break, and this constant pressure can trigger muscle tension, especially along the spine. Studies from the early 21st century showed that people who learned mindfulness-based meditation had their cortisol levels measured before and after sessions. The results showed noticeable drops in that hormone, sometimes after only a few weeks. This matters for the spine, because lower cortisol means that the muscles protecting your vertebrae and supporting the rest of your body start to relax more often. Less tension equals better alignment, fewer headaches, and easier movement. It's not just about stress reduction, but about allowing muscles and nerves to reset to a healthy balance. Beyond chemistry, there is an invisible network at play inside your brain and nervous system. Our brains are always processing information from the body, especially signals of pain or discomfort that come up from the spine. In situations of chronic back pain, these signals get stuck in a loop. Your brain gets more sensitive to them, and minor aches start to feel worse over time. In the last 10 to 15 years, scientists have used brain imaging machines to watch what happens when people meditate regularly. They noticed that meditation actually changes the structure and functioning of certain parts of the brain responsible for interpreting pain. Specifically, meditation helps quiet down parts that panic or exaggerate pain, and builds up regions that deal with calm, focus, and body awareness. This means pain is still there, but it isn't as overwhelming. You stay in control, and your brain relearns its relationship to discomfort. This scientific view helps explain why, for example, some people can sit still for extended meditation sessions and report less pain or discomfort than newcomers. Their brains have literally been retrained by the regular habit of noticing, but not reacting, to pain sensations in the body. It's not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about changing your mind's alarm system so it sounds only when it's really needed. This can be a turning point for people trapped in cycles of chronic pain, including those who feel like no amount of medication or physical therapy has fully solved their spinal issues. Meditation gives another way forward, one that's built on changing patterns at the deepest level of the nervous system. When talking about pain, perception plays a key role. Pain isn't always just a physical injury or inflammation. A lot of it is how the brain interprets signals coming from the body. Meditation, and especially mindfulness meditation, focuses your awareness on the present moment, making it possible to see painful sensations without instantly reacting, resisting, or panicking. Several controlled studies have shown that when people use mindfulness, literally paying careful, non-judgmental attention to their bodily sensations, they experience less overall pain, and what pain does appear feels more manageable. It's as if the practice puts a buffer between you and discomfort, so your body can relax and the brain stops amplifying signals as much as before. More recent research is starting to show that the pathways in the brain can be rewired over time through regular meditation. This process, called neuroplasticity, means your brain isn't locked into the same old habits for life. With daily or almost daily meditation practice, the neural roads that were once tuned to amplify pain can be slowly replaced by new circuits that handle pain more calmly. This isn't just theory. Imaging done with magnetic resonance machines shows physical changes in brain structure, more grey matter, greater connections in places dealing with body awareness and pain regulation when people meditate over weeks and months. For someone with chronic back pain, this means the experience is likely to become less intense and less scary. Instead of spiraling out, pain calms itself down more quickly. It's easy to see how this matches with what people have already discovered on their own. If you know anyone who has been meditating for several months, ask them what they feel in their body after a session. Most report that their muscles are less tense, their minds are calmer, and their sense of pain is less distracting. They might still have physical issues. Nobody is promising instant miracle cures, but their day-to-day relationship with their body changes, often making life more comfortable and less reliant on outside fixes. There is also a practical dimension to this. Meditation isn't a drug, so it doesn't wear off after a few hours. Its effects build up with regular practice, becoming stronger and longer lasting as weeks and months go by. That stamina matters for people with chronic pain, who need tools that can work in the background every day, not just in crisis moments. Doctors and researchers now suggest meditation as a main part of pain management, either alongside other treatments or even as a starting point before more invasive options are considered. Doctors have begun to refer patients for mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is a type of meditation program that emphasizes gentle stretching, mindfulness, and slow breathing. The data from studies involving thousands of patients show clear benefits: reductions in back pain scores, less disability, and sometimes a stop in the chronic pain cycle. For people who may have tried many types of painkillers or physical methods without relief, this is hopeful information. What's especially remarkable is that people of almost any age or health status can benefit. Meditation doesn't require intense physical ability, heavy equipment, or expensive appointments. On a day-to-day level, meditation helps people develop what scientists call interoceptive awareness. In plain language, this just means you get better at noticing signals from inside your own body. It's like getting a new set of sensory glasses that pick up subtler hints before pain becomes overwhelming. This leads people to correct their posture sooner, stretch, or take a break when they sense tightness building up in the back. Over time, these small improvements prevent bigger injuries from ever taking hold. Meditation, in this sense, becomes a part of spinal health maintenance, a kind of daily cleaning up of tension and stress before it settles in too deeply. There are also psychological side effects, almost all of them positive when it comes to healing and living with pain. Meditation makes people less fearful of discomfort, replacing dread or worry with a quiet acceptance. The brain, instead of getting caught up in what-if spirals, stays present. This can be liberating for those dealing with pain that doesn't have an immediate cure. Chronic pain is often made worse by the stress and mental struggle around it. Meditation gives a clear way to lower that extra burden, making healing more likely and life more enjoyable in the process. Digging a little deeper, science shows that the gut feeling of Buddhist practitioners when they say meditating can help realign not just the mind but the body actually makes sense. Regular meditation teaches relaxation at a deep nervous system level. The vagus nerve, which is the main channel running from brain to internal organs and that also connects with areas near the spine, is stimulated with slow, mindful breathing. When this nerve is relaxed, it lowers overall stress response and promotes rest and recovery. It's nature's way of telling the body that the coast is clear, so muscles guarding the spine can finally release. Researchers also track brain chemicals called endorphins, which are well-known feel-good molecules. After meditation, the levels of these endorphins tend to rise, which can naturally reduce pain perception and boost a sense of well-being. It's a feedback loop. Less pain means less tension, which means even less stress, feeding into easier movement and more comfort in the back and other problem areas. Looking at the numbers, consider studies where two groups of people, all with chronic back pain, were given either meditation training or a standard medical education about pain. After several weeks, the meditation group had better scores for pain reduction and daily function compared to the education group. Importantly, these benefits were not just in the mind. Physical measures like how far a person could bend or twist also improved. Sleep got better, mood scores went up, and even family members noticed the changes. It isn't just about feeling different, it's about living better. Now, there are programs in hospitals and clinics that make meditation part of the official care plan for back pain and related issues. Insurance companies are beginning to see the benefit, as people who meditate often need fewer doctor visits and less medication. Some orthopedic doctors now ask about stress and emotional health as part of pain management. This is a shift in thinking that many attribute, at least partially, to the solid science behind meditation and spinal health. You don't have to sit perfectly still or chant strange words to benefit either. The most important ingredient is attention, giving your mind and body a few moments each day to rest in awareness. Studies show that even short sessions, such as 10 or 15 minutes a day, produce benefits when practiced consistently for months. Most people notice better results if they practice daily, preferably at the same time each day, which helps build a habit and lets the changes sink in. An interesting area of research is focused on people who are older, who sometimes have more trouble with chronic back issues. Scientists have measured spinal flexibility and thickness of supportive muscles before and after months of guided meditation. The findings show real improvements in flexibility and reductions in reported pain. These changes are linked to less stress, improved posture, and an overall boost in willingness to move and maintain physical activity. Even in people over 70, meditation seems to restore some function and comfort to the spine. Younger adults benefit as well, especially those dealing with modern stressors like digital overload or working long hours at a desk. Stress from jobs, life transitions, and lack of movement are well-known risk factors for back pain. Meditation, by teaching people to pause, notice, and reset, turns out to be a strong countermeasure. Mental and physical refreshing through meditation can undo a lot of the build-up that would otherwise end up as painful knots or persistent soreness. A big advantage here is that meditation is generally safe. There are very few side effects, and you can adjust the practice to fit your own needs. If sitting is too hard because of pain, lying down or propping yourself with pillows works fine. Gentle movement meditations like mindful walking are also effective and are being studied more each year for their effects on spinal health and pain relief. Many people ask, how long before the benefits really show up? For measurable changes, things like lower inflammation, less pain, and better movement, the typical window is between 6 and 12 weeks of consistent practice. But even earlier on, most people report smaller bonuses. Sleep improves, stress drops, and a general sense of calm and confidence appears. If you stick with it, changes simply keep growing stronger over time. What's even more interesting is meditation's role in preventing pain in the first place. Athletes and people with high physical demands who meditate seem to recover faster from injuries, experience fewer flare-ups, and feel more connected to their body's warning signs, like small aches that need stretching before they become dangerous. People who have never had chronic back pain sometimes use meditation as a way to keep it that way, to stay limber, reduce anxiety, and support their bodies as they age. This intersection of ancient tradition and science is one of the reasons meditation has grown in popularity. Instead of posing a mystical or untested solution, it stands on the solid foundation of thousands of individual reports, clinical trials, and imaging studies. The changes are measurable, often visible on medical tests, and reported by people from all walks of life. People sometimes ask whether meditation is enough on its own, or if it needs to be combined with other forms of therapy. Most medical professionals suggest that the best outcomes come from combining approaches: meditation and mindfulness for stress, posture correction and gentle exercise for physical support, and regular medical checkups when injuries or disease are suspected. Meditation doesn't replace good medical care, but it forms a powerful tool, accessible to virtually anyone, with real backing from research. Motivation plays a role too. Results keep getting better the longer you practice, and the more your sessions feel enjoyable or meaningful. Some people find community classes or group apps help maintain their routine, while others value private practice at home. The act of checking in with your body, especially when it's giving you pain signals, helps you respond with understanding rather than panic. This simple routine can turn pain from a crisis into a manageable part of your health, often with less distress than before. All these developments point to meditation's place as a mainstay in spinal health and pain care. As science and medicine continue to look for answers beyond medication and surgery, meditation offers a safe, effective, and accessible path forward for people of all backgrounds. The spine, so often carrying the weight of stress and activity, now has a quiet ally, one backed by thousands of years of human practice, now confirmed by the careful measuring tools of science. By integrating these techniques into daily life, people have a realistic and proven way to ease their pain, take control of their health, and build lasting resilience in both mind and body. Once you appreciate how meditation can bring real, noticeable changes for your spine and overall health, it gets even more interesting when you start looking at the actual poses Buddhist monks have been using for generations. These meditation postures are not random or only about sitting quietly. There's a thoughtful method behind each one, and together they offer a well-rounded strategy to approach spinal tension and encourage healing, both physically and emotionally. The tradition includes 13 specific poses that go far beyond the familiar full lotus or crossed-legged sitting you might picture at first. Each pose is designed to address a different type of tension, release energy blocks in various sections of the back, and offer the body a new pattern of balance. To give you a sense of how these poses work, picture a monk settling into a simple posture on a meditation cushion, but with careful attention to how every part of their spine is aligned. Sitting in these classic positions isn't just about comfort, it's about consciously stacking the vertebrae in a neutral position so that gravity supports you and your muscles get a break from fighting against your own posture. The goal is always to let the spinal channel open without unnecessary strain or pressure. This is what allows long periods of stillness without building up aches or discomfort in the back. The most well-known pose is probably the classic full lotus. In this posture, each foot is placed on the opposite thigh and the back is held straight but relaxed. Not everyone can do this safely, and even among monks, some people will modify it to what is known as the half lotus, where only one foot comes up onto the thigh and the other rests below. The key in both versions is to create a wide, grounded base with the hips while the knees gently press toward the floor. If you can't get your knees to the ground, sitting on a cushion makes a world of difference. The whole shape is about letting the pelvis tilt very slightly forward. This opens up the lower back so the lumbar vertebrae stack more easily, and your whole posture begins to support itself rather than slumping or relying on muscle tension to stay upright. If the lotus feels too intense or impossible for your body, there's the simple cross-legged posture, often known as easy pose. Here the legs are comfortably crossed with feet under opposite knees or even just slightly stacked. Again, a cushion helps let the hips tilt forward naturally. In this arrangement, what matters most is that you can feel your sitting bones, the two little bony parts at the bottom of your pelvis, pressing firmly and equally into your seat. This evens out your weight, releases tension from your lower back, and brings a gentle length to the spine. Your shoulders can relax and your chest naturally opens. Next, there's what's sometimes called the Burmese position, which looks very similar to the cross-legged pose, except both legs are flat, one loosely in front of the other and not tucked under at all. This is a more accessible posture for people who have knee or ankle tightness. The focus stays on finding an even foundation, keeping the pelvis neutral and letting the back lengthen. Some people can't sit on the floor at all without pain in their hips, knees or lower back, and for them, kneeling poses are an answer. The most common is Caesar, where you kneel and sit back on your heels, shins flat against the ground. Sometimes a special meditation bench is used, which shifts the weight off the ankle joints and lets the pelvis tilt forward just enough. This shape lines the spine up naturally, so the chest can lift and the lower back curves gently inward rather than slouching. In Zen monasteries, for example, this is often the default posture for chanting or longer sessions, gentle, stable, and surprisingly restful once your knees adapt. Occasionally, a fully upright chair is the best solution, especially for people with limited flexibility or those who want a more workplace-appropriate meditation position. The main principle here doesn't change. Both feet flat on the ground, back unforced but straight, pelvis slightly in front of the seat bones, and hands resting gently on the thighs or in the lap. The idea is that you want your head floating as if a string is gently lifting you from the crown, chin tucked just a bit, and shoulders relaxed downward and back. A less common but extraordinarily effective set of poses involve lying down. In the supine posture, often called corpse pose by yoga and meditation teachers, you lie flat on your back, legs extended and arms beside you, palms up. This position completely removes the effort of holding yourself upright. It encourages every part of your spine, from the back of the head down to the tailbone, to settle naturally against the support of the floor. Doing this on a soft but firm surface with a thin cushion under the knees can help if you have lower back tightness. The intent here is total release, letting gravity take over and showing the spine what it feels like to have no compressive load. For those seeking gentle back support but needing a change of angle, side-lying meditation or even lying on the stomach for a few minutes can offer relief to specific back sections. Side lying can be useful for pregnant women or anyone who finds supported rest easier on the joints. Even these positions are guided by awareness, feeling how the spine aligns, noticing which side feels longer or more restricted, and adjusting accordingly with slow breaths. Standing meditation might surprise people who assume all meditation happens while sitting or lying down. This posture involves standing upright, feet shoulder-width apart, and the knees very slightly bent. The arms can hang at the sides or be placed gently over the belly. The secret to standing meditation is not to lock the knees or hips, but to keep a tiny springiness in the legs. The tailbone draws slightly downward, and the chest lifts gently, which helps to lengthen and decompress the entire spine, from the sacrum to the base of the skull. Practicing standing meditation for even 10 or 15 minutes can open up the lower back in a unique way. It's commonly used in certain Buddhist and Taoist traditions to build strength and stamina in the core, which eventually translates into better support for the spine during other forms of meditation or daily movement. Another category of poses focuses on gentle movement, such as slow walking meditations. In a walking meditation, attention is given to every step, rolling from heel to toe, feeling the lift of the leg, tracking motion through the hips and up the spine. The rhythm of walking, done slowly and with focus, encourages the spine to sway in its natural pattern, loosening any stiff spots and promoting rhythmical breathing that relaxes the back muscles. Some monastic traditions also use reclined twists or supported forward folds as part of their meditation sequences. These involve sitting or lying in a way that allows the spine to twist gently or elongate. These poses are always done softly, without bouncing or pushing, and are usually held for longer periods, anywhere from several breaths up to 5 or even 10 minutes. What this does is lengthen the spaces between the vertebrae, decompress areas that are compressed from sitting, and wake up the smaller stabilizing muscles that are easy to neglect in daily life. Each of these 13 poses is supported by a specific way of holding the hands, the head, and even the tongue. For example, hands might rest on the knees, folded in the lap, or in specific mudras, hand shapes designed to increase energy flow. The tongue is often gently placed on the upper palate, just behind the teeth, which some believe helps maintain alertness and smooth breathing. The eyes are usually half closed, gazing softly downward, or just in front of the feet. Switching between these poses or adjusting within a single session is encouraged, especially for beginners or anyone dealing with pain. There's no strict rule that says you must hold any position at all costs. If the back gets tired or a leg falls asleep, the tradition is to mindfully shift to something else, rather than pushing through pain and risking injury. Holding these postures with mindful attention offers more than just physical relief. It also brings mental clarity. The longer you stay in a gentle but firm meditation posture, aligned and breathing calmly, the more you notice quiet sensations that might have gone ignored otherwise. Maybe you feel the warmth between your shoulder blades or the subtle stretch at the base of your skull. These moments of awareness are the early warning signs of tension and imbalance, and being able to spot them early is what helps you resolve small issues before they turn into big problems. It is this relationship between pose, breath, and attention that makes Buddhist meditative practices so transformative for back pain. Every posture can be modified with basic props, even a rolled-up towel, a yoga block, or a firm pillow. Using support helps take out unnecessary struggle, allowing the back muscles to let go and the spine to find its natural length. If numbness or tingling sets in, small shifts are always encouraged rather than toughing it out. Instructions for safely getting in and out of these poses are something Buddhist teachers emphasize repeatedly. You enter each position slowly, using the hands or elbows for support if necessary, settling in for a few breaths before starting meditation. When ending, rising slowly and stretching a bit reduces cramping and brings circulation back to the muscles that were engaged. The goal is always to support spinal health, not to test limits or endure discomfort. One simple sequence could involve beginning with 5 minutes of seated meditation, transitioning to kneeling or standing for 5 more, lying down for a short body scan, and then finishing with gentle walking meditation. This cycle encourages different segments of the spine to activate and relax at different times, supporting holistic spinal well-being without overwhelming any one area. All of this comes together in the daily practice of Buddhist monks, whose routines might include several short sessions in different poses rather than one long stretch in a single posture. In an average day, a monk might move through up to 7 or 8 of these 13 poses, adjusting as needed depending on energy, flexibility, or the demands of temple duties. Over weeks and months, this regular, mindful approach creates spines that are versatile and resilient. For regular people, adopting just 1 or 2 of these poses, practiced with true awareness, can spark a real change in how the back feels day to day. What's important to remember is that these 13 poses are not reserved for athletes or people already in perfect health. They're designed to be flexible and inclusive, allowing for difference in age, body type, and physical limitations. You can do most of them at home with just a quiet spot and maybe a cushion or folded blanket. With practice, most people begin to notice muscles in their back that they never even knew were tight. They start to feel differences in the shape or length of the spine from one day to the next, and their awareness of posture during work or walking improves naturally. You start to catch yourself slumping and easily correct before discomfort arrives, and each pose doubles not only as a moment of stillness for the mind, but also a mini adjustment or check-in for the entire spine. For people who have never meditated before, it's normal to shift around or fidget at first. Over time, as your core muscles strengthen and the nervous system settles, longer holds become easy, and the mind grows less distracted. Buddhist teachings encourage letting go of any frustration about wobbly posture or restlessness. The real benefits come from consistency, not perfection. Just a few minutes a day, exploring these positions and tuning into the sensations along your back can deliver measurable improvements in pain, energy, and peace of mind. The gentle cycling through these meditation poses is a practical, time-tested way to keep the body healthy and free from the stuck patterns that build up with modern lifestyles. Emphasizing comfort over rigidity and awareness over appearance, these Buddhist traditions offer everybody, including total beginners, the opportunity to reconnect with their spine and tap into the body's natural abilities for balance and healing. Whether you start with a simple sitting pose or experiment with kneeling, lying, or standing, the focus is always on mindful attention, supported alignment, and a willingness to adjust in real time for your body's needs. This approach is what makes these ancient meditation poses a realistic and sustainable option for spinal health, no matter your age, fitness level, or previous experience. Breath is something that we hardly ever think about, but it actually makes all the difference when it comes to meditation and spinal health. Right after getting into any of those classic meditation poses, whether cross-legged, kneeling, sitting in a chair, or lying down, the attention quickly turns to how you are breathing. In Buddhist meditation, breath is not background noise. It's the one tool that, if you use it with awareness, can bring a huge shift to your entire body, starting with the spine and reaching all the way into your nervous system and even your state of mind. The difference between automatic, shallow breaths and mindful, deep breathing might not seem obvious at first, but over days and weeks, it shows up as less pain, more calm, and a surprising sense of energy. Let's start with what actually happens to your back when you take a deep, mindful breath. Most people breathe up in their chest, letting their shoulders lift and their ribcage expand a little. That kind of breathing is common when you are stressed or not paying attention, but it doesn't involve the entire diaphragm, a dome-shaped sheet of muscle that sits under your lungs and runs across the front of your spine at the bottom of the ribcage. When you breathe deeply, your diaphragm drops down and your belly gently expands. This pulls air into the lower parts of your lungs, and that motion massages the organs in your belly and actually stretches the muscles right at your lower back. It's like giving the inside of your spine a small stretch every time you breathe fully. People who practice diaphragmatic breathing can often loosen tension along the middle and lower back, just through the regular, slow movement of breath. On a scientific level, deep, slow breathing activates a part of your nervous system called the parasympathetic system. This is often called the rest and digest system because it helps your body slow down, relax, recover, and repair itself after stress. When you are in a hurry, anxious, or distracted, the opposite side of your nervous system, the fight or flight system, is activated. That's when you get tense, your muscles tighten, your breath gets quick and shallow, and your back often feels sore or stiff as a result. Learning to breathe slowly and with purpose shows your body that there's no emergency, letting tension dissolve from the muscles surrounding the spine. Over time, this actually leads to changes in your blood pressure, your heart rate, and how much inflammation shows up in the body, all things that play a role in chronic back pain. There are different ways you can approach mindful breathing in meditation, but at the core is always awareness. Buddhist monks often begin with the simplest exercise, Just notice the breath as it comes in and out. You don't have to force it or control it at first. You just watch. Where do you feel the breath? Is it more in your nose, throat, chest, or belly? Most people are a bit surprised to find that their breath stays mostly in the upper body unless they're careful. After a few minutes of paying attention, you can start encouraging the breath deeper, feel your belly soften on the inhale, and notice how your back gently moves when the breath comes in. This slow movement almost rocks the vertebrae and soft tissues, and the gentle repetition gives your back a kind of inner massage. Over the years, a lot of meditation teachers refined breathing exercises to help people get the greatest benefit for their backs. One very well-known method is called three-part breathing. You start each inhale by filling your belly first, then letting the breath rise up into your ribcage, and finally all the way until your collarbones gently lift. The exhale is the same, but in reverse. Collarbones soften, ribs narrow together, belly falls last. This wave of breath expands the spine in all directions and increases circulation to the muscles and discs that keep you upright and mobile. People who stick to it find that it quickly breaks up feelings of stagnation, especially after hours of sitting or standing in one place. Another favorite breathing exercise for spinal health is called box breathing or four-square breathing. It's simple. Inhale to the count of 4, hold the breath in for 4, exhale for 4, and hold the lungs empty for 4 before the next inhale. The steady rhythm calms your nerves and gives your muscles time to let go of unconscious holding patterns. Many people notice that after a few rounds, the upper back and neck start to relax and pain levels drop. It's a good way to reset your body during a stressful day, even if you only have a couple of minutes to spare. Sometimes meditation instructors will use breath counting to keep the mind focused. For example, you count 1 on an inhale, 2 on the exhale, 3 on the next inhale, and so on up to 10 before starting over. Focusing on numbers helps keep your thoughts from wandering and gives you feedback about how even and steady your breathing is. If you lose track or your breath gets ragged, you just start over. No big deal. After a while, your breath usually slows down naturally, and you may be breathing much more deeply than you realize, sending oxygen all the way down to every part of your back and supporting your spine with each round. Once you're comfortable with simply following the breath, Buddhist practice sometimes adds in breath visualization. In this technique, you imagine the inhale as a stream of cool, fresh air moving up the length of your spine, from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. On the exhale, you picture any tension or dark, sticky feelings melting downward and out through the base of your spine or through the bottoms of your feet. This combination of imagery and breath not only calms your mind, but often has a real, noticeable effect on physical pain and tightness. People often say they feel heat or gentle tingling as muscles release and blood flow improves, especially around the lower back and shoulders. A very practical benefit of focusing on breath is that it teaches you to catch stress before it becomes a problem. For example, if your breath suddenly becomes short or uncomfortable during meditation, it's often a sign that tension is creeping back into the muscles around your spine. That's the moment to pause, take a deeper inhale, and let your shoulders soften on the exhale. By bringing attention to the breath, you train your mind to be aware of early warning signs, often before stiffness or pain sets in for real. It's a simple but powerful trick for managing chronic issues. Over time, the habit of checking in with your breath spills over into your daily life. Meditation isn't only what happens when you sit on a cushion. Many people find they naturally start taking deeper, softer breaths during busy days, while waiting in line, sitting in traffic, or before big meetings. This acts like a built-in pressure valve, relieving tension before it settles into your back. Long after a meditation session ends, your body remembers the relaxed habits you established while focusing on breath. Let's talk about oxygen for a minute. When you breathe shallowly, just enough to keep going, your muscles don't get as much oxygen as they need. The discs between the vertebrae in your spine rely on good circulation and full breaths to stay healthy and flexible. Deep breathing increases blood flow, bringing nutrients and oxygen to these tissues. Over time, better oxygenation can reduce swelling and inflammation, speed up recovery from small injuries, and keep your muscles more supple. Several studies have tracked people who commit to deep breathing exercises for as little as 15 minutes daily and found they report less back pain, fewer muscle spasms, and even improved posture. There are some interesting advanced techniques in Buddhist breathing as well. In one, you coordinate your breath with gentle movement, maybe raising your arms overhead on the inhale and lowering them on the exhale, or twisting the spine a little as you finish a breath out. These small, rhythmical movements can help wake up the smaller muscles along the back that might otherwise stay tight or weak. For people who have difficulty sitting still, these moving breath practices offer another route to unwind the spine and break the cycle of pain. For those who find it hard to sit quietly or who feel restless, walking meditation with breath awareness is another powerful method. You take one slow, deep breath for each step or pair of steps, letting your whole body move as you breathe. The gentle sway of walking uses muscles all along the spine, keeping the back loose while also conditioning your lungs and calming your nervous system. It turns what could be a simple stretch into something much more soothing and healing. Many Buddhist teachers explain that there is no right way to breathe in meditation. As long as your breath is comfortable, natural, and getting deeper, you're on the right track. If you have a stuffy nose, asthma, or another condition, adjustments can be made. Mouth breathing, using a pillow to prop up your back, or even practicing lying down can help bring the same results without added strain. What matters is finding the position and rhythm that lets your spine feel supported and your body free from effort. Another key aspect is how breathing affects your mind. When you focus on breath, thoughts naturally slow down, and the part of your brain that worries or predicts the future gets a break. In traditional Buddhist meditation, breath is seen as the anchor for attention. Every time your mind wanders, you gently bring it back to the gentle rise and fall of your breath. This practice strengthens concentration, and a calm mind is less likely to amplify pain signals from your back. The combination of mental quiet and physical relaxation often produces a sense of ease that lingers for hours after meditation ends. For people who live with ongoing pain or are recovering from a spine injury, breathing techniques become essential. Even when movement is hard, lying flat and breathing slowly is usually possible. Some people with recent back injuries find that all they can do is focus on breath, but even this limited movement can have big benefits for their healing. Gentle breathing calms spasms, reduces anxiety, and offers a sense of control, even in the midst of discomfort. Breath is also closely tied to emotions, and as mentioned before, most people feel back pain most acutely when emotionally stressed out. If you're angry, scared, or overwhelmed, your breathing often becomes shallow and tight, exactly the pattern that keeps your back locked up. Learning to use breath as a tool lets you quickly dial down emotional heat and signal to your body that it's time to relax. Over the long haul, this can mean fewer flare-ups of pain and more resilience to the daily stresses that would otherwise build up as knots in your back. In group meditation settings, you'll often hear the room become completely quiet, except for the sound of gentle breathing. There's something about meditating together, each person attuned to their own breath, that encourages a sense of solidarity, everyone dealing with their own version of tightness or discomfort, everyone learning to let go. Having a group or even meditating at the same time each day can help you remember to practice and keep your technique consistent. Meditation teachers sometimes add counting breathing or breath visualization as a way to help people who tend to get lost in thought or struggle with wandering minds. In breath counting, for example, your attention is occupied, but in a relaxed way. This focus helps when you're dealing with pain or anxiety, since it keeps you anchored to a rhythm and out of negative thought loops. Breath techniques are also effective in quick daily resets. Let's say your job involves sitting for hours at a desk or in front of a screen. Taking a break every hour, even for just 3 long, slow breaths, makes a real difference for your back. If it sounds too simple, try setting a timer or leaving a sticky note on your monitor. The first few times, your breaths might feel shallow or uneven, but after a week or two of practice, you'll notice your inhales growing longer, your exhales softening, and your back feeling a bit more relaxed and mobile. Some advanced techniques encourage bringing sound into breath. Humming gently on the exhale, or even chanting quietly, vibrates the tissues in the back and the chest, breaking up stuck tension and helping oxygen flow even deeper into the lungs and muscles near the spine. People who are self-conscious about making noise can hum very quietly, but the effect is often the same, a sense of soothing and harmony spreading up and down the spine with each breath cycle. Breathing exercises can be added to practically any activity throughout your day. While driving, before sleeping, or as you wake up in the morning, take a minute to stretch and softly breathe into your back. These habits become second nature over time. Instead of reacting to pain or frustration with even more tension, you'll be able to breathe through it, letting your nervous system downshift, your muscles release, and your spine regain its healthy, supported shape. It's pretty common to wonder if you're doing it wrong at first, especially with breathing practices that seem awkward or unfamiliar. The reassurance from Buddhist meditation is always the same. There are no grades and no pressure for perfection. The only thing that matters is noticing, showing up, and trying again the next day. If you have an injury or limitation, or if you find yourself feeling lightheaded or uncomfortable, simply slow down, take a break, or ask a qualified teacher for adjustment tips. Over time, your breath and back will teach you what works best for you. Many people are surprised to discover that after a few weeks, even as little as 2 or 3, they are breathing more deeply throughout the day without effort. Their posture improves, pain levels go down, they recover faster from strenuous activity, and perhaps best of all, they feel a deeper sense of calm and focus. Breath is the body's built-in way to handle both physical and emotional challenges. Using it consciously through meditation practices can unlock better health for your spine and your whole system, one gentle inhale at a time. Becoming aware of your breath, as simple as it sounds, is what actually sets the stage for better alignment and comfort, not just during meditation, but all throughout the rest of the day. When you practice this, it has a surprising effect, not only on your mood and flexibility, but also on how your body finds and holds itself. This is the point where mindfulness connects directly with your musculoskeletal system, especially your spine. It isn't just about letting go of tension, it's also about developing a sharp sense for subtle shifts in your body's natural alignment. In Buddhist traditions and in more recent mindfulness-based approaches, the habit of observing without judgment gives you tools to notice and even correct physical imbalances in real time. Let's get concrete about what that means for your back. Think about how many times a day your shoulders creep up toward your ears without you noticing. Or maybe your hips tilt forward and put too much curve in your lower back, or your spine slumps as you spend hours in front of your desk or TV. Most of the time, these changes happen so gradually that your body adapts, at least for a while, by using nearby muscles to compensate. Over time, those muscle groups get tired and start hurting, while other muscles go unused and weaken. This cycle turns temporary imbalances into lasting discomfort or chronic pain. Mindfulness works by teaching you to pay close attention to your body as it moves or holds still. In the early days of meditation, your mind is often drawn away by thoughts or outside distractions. But with practice, you start to notice more of what is actually happening inside. For example, when you bring awareness to your seat while sitting, you may discover that most of your weight is slumping off to one side. With that realization, you might shift slightly, letting your sitting bones press evenly into the cushion. Suddenly, the muscles supporting your spine can relax a bit. The load is shared, rather than dumping it all onto one spot. This level of fine-tuned body listening is what helps you catch small postural problems before they become major ones. When you're present with your physical sensations, every meditation session becomes an opportunity to discover patterns you didn't know were there. You can feel when your ribcage is collapsing and gently expand it, or notice when your jaw is clenched and relax it. Hips, shoulders, neck, ankles. Each area tells you in real time about your alignment. This prevents the slow build-up of imbalance that often leads to aches after long hours at work, in the car, or even during leisure activities. Another benefit is that mindfulness creates a kind of loop between your brain and body. As you observe one part of yourself, those signals get stronger. For example, if you focus on feeling the back of your head and neck, you begin to realize when your head is jutting forward instead of stacking right over your shoulders. The more you do this, the more quickly and automatically your brain learns to send correction signals. You end up adjusting without having to consciously think every time. This continuous feedback loop is why day-to-day posture naturally improves with consistent meditation and mindfulness practice. Your nervous system starts working for your comfort and health, not against it. Let's talk about some classic alignment issues and how mindfulness helps. One of the most common is rounded or forward-tilting shoulders. This tends to come from keeping your arms in front of you all day. Think typing at a keyboard, looking at your phone, or driving. Over time, the chest muscles shorten and the upper back muscles stretch out and weaken. If you meditate sitting up and you bring awareness to your upper body, you'll often sense tension in the front of your chest or notice that your shoulders are hunched. With patience, you can gently allow the shoulder blades to slide back and down, opening the chest just a little. Breathing deeply helps the process, and suddenly your upper back feels a bit lighter. If you do this often, your body develops a new, healthier pattern for how it holds itself even outside of meditation time. Hips are another area where poor alignment can creep in unnoticed. Maybe you cross your legs more on one side, or your chair is set up so that your pelvis tilts awkwardly. These postural quirks pull your lower spine out of its natural curve and can create a chronic ache or even sciatica. Through mindfulness, you learn to feel exactly where your hip bones land and how your weight is distributed. Your legs become less likely to fall asleep, and those stubborn lower back muscles get a chance to release unnecessarily tight holding. Awareness allows you to make micro adjustments, putting your hips back into a place where your back can support you efficiently. Neck alignment is also a big issue, especially because so much of modern life involves screens. Most people spend several hours a day craning their heads forward, which puts a huge load on the cervical vertebrae. If you notice during meditation that your chin is jutting out or your neck feels pinched, you can gently lengthen the back of your neck by tucking your chin and imagining the crown of your head floating up. This takes pressure off your whole upper back and even helps release jaw and facial tension. These corrections, although tiny, make a huge difference if done consistently. Over weeks, you build new muscle memory for alignment. Several studies have shown that mindful body scanning, bringing sequential attention to different parts of the body, can reduce chronic pain, improve flexibility, and even change the way you naturally hold your posture when you are not even thinking about it. People who spend just 15 or 20 minutes daily on focused awareness report lower back pain going down, less stiffness in the neck, and even more energy throughout the day. It's easy to think of posture as something that's set by bones and genetics, but it's actually incredibly responsive to mindfulness and daily habits. In Buddhist meditation, part of the practice is to start every session by scanning from the base of the spine up to the crown of the head, noticing where there is slackness, collapse, or strain. These observations are not for self-judgment. They're practical data used to improve comfort and avoid problems before they grow. Meditation becomes a laboratory where you learn your unique patterns, testing small changes and seeing immediate results. Yoga and physical therapy often borrow these principles as well, but the power of mindfulness is that it goes with you everywhere. You don't need a mat, a gym, or special clothing. The skills you develop by following your breath and feeling your body during meditation are immediately useful when you're waiting for the bus, doing the dishes, sitting at work, or carrying groceries. Even when life gets hectic, you start to unconsciously check in with your spine, roll your shoulders back, or let your jaw unclench. This is the beginning of a sustained, lifelong improvement in spinal and musculoskeletal health. Mindfulness also tunes you in to the early signs of trouble, such as small aches or brief flares of discomfort that are easy to overlook in the rush of a workday. Instead of pushing through and ignoring these signals, you pause, breathe, and make a simple adjustment. This habit can prevent what might have become an all-day tension headache, a sore back after driving, or a pulled muscle from bad alignment while exercising. The ability to sense and respond quickly is one of the most valuable gifts of Buddhist-inspired meditation. For people who sit a lot, at work, in cars, at home, these mindful habits are especially important. Sedentary life tends to tighten the hips, weaken the glutes, slump the shoulders, and flatten the natural curves of the spine. Even a short mindfulness break, where you stand up, stretch, breathe, and feel the length and balance of your body can reverse much of that damage. Studies now recommend that people get up at least once every 30 to 60 minutes to check in with their posture and reset alignment, even if just for a minute or two. The longer you've practiced mindfulness, the more automatic and pleasant these quick resets become. While mindfulness certainly improves sitting and standing posture, it also extends into movement. Walking with awareness, for example, lets you feel how each step moves up through your feet, ankles, knees, hips, and into the spine. With practice, you start to feel the natural sway and rotation of the pelvis, the springy movement of the spinal column, and the evenness of your head on your shoulders. This brings a fluidity to how you walk, reducing the chances of aches, strains, or falls. Athletes often use mindfulness to improve technique and prevent injury, but anyone can have these benefits in daily life just by noticing and allowing the body to move as it was designed. Mindful stretching, whether part of formal yoga or a simple warm-up, becomes much more effective when combined with breath and focused attention. As you stretch the back, hips, or shoulders, being aware of breath helps the muscles relax and lengthen more fully. You sense where one side is tighter, or a spot feels off, and you can stay present with it, breathing slowly until the body opens up in its own time. This approach avoids the risk of overstretching or causing injury by pushing through discomfort. Instead, you become a partner with your body, encouraging release instead of demanding it. For people with pre-existing spinal problems or conditions like scoliosis, herniated discs, or chronic pain, mindfulness provides safe ways to explore what movements and postures feel best. Rather than following a strict one-size-fits-all program, you learn to respect your unique needs from moment to moment. You may find that sitting upright in meditation is too painful, so you use reclined or side-lying postures with extra support under your knees or low back. Mindfulness means you listen, adjust, and experiment gently, slowly improving your alignment over weeks and months. Emotional states also play a big role in alignment. Stress, anger, sadness, or fatigue tend to show up in the body as tightening, slumping, or bracing. Through mindful awareness, you may start to recognize that your posture collapses most when you're feeling overwhelmed or you clench your teeth and shoulders during stressful conversations. By noticing this pattern, you can pause and breathe, letting the emotional storm pass and allowing your posture to rebound naturally. Over time, this kind of emotional physical awareness creates a more stable, grounded presence in both mind and body. Musculoskeletal alignment is not just about static posture, but about dynamic balance, how your body organizes itself while moving and shifting. Even small activities like reaching for a shelf, leaning over to tie shoes, or turning to speak to someone can be improved by mindfulness. With every mindful movement, you train the nervous system to engage the right muscles at the right time, instead of relying on brute force or compensatory tension. This lowers the chance of repetitive strain injuries and speeds up recovery after long days or physical effort. It's also worth mentioning that mindfulness can help with balance and coordination, two things that get more important as we age. By feeling into your feet, legs, hips, and core as you move, you naturally make the small corrections needed to keep yourself steady. Several research studies have found that people who practice mindful alignment, even with short daily sessions, fall less often and recover better from setbacks or injuries. In families and cultures where mindfulness is practiced daily, children even begin to develop these skills early, growing up with better posture, less tension, and easier movement. Adults who start later can still make big improvements, since the body is always able to adapt and rebuild healthy patterns with enough gentle repetition. Getting started with mindful alignment doesn't require expert training. All it really takes is pausing, checking in with your body, and feeling where something is tight, slack, or off-center. As you build a habit of observing, you don't need to fix everything at once. Most changes can start small, a little more length in the spine, a gentle roll of the shoulders, a few deeper breaths. The immediate effect is often less pain and more ease in movement. The long-term effect is even better, a nervous system trained to seek balance, more stamina for daily activity, and far fewer days lost to back pain or muscle spasms. This attention carries over to every setting, from walking the dog to picking up kids, carrying groceries, or working at a computer. Little by little, mindfulness makes the difference between a body that wears out from daily stress and one that adapts and rebounds quickly. In summary, mindful awareness translates directly and powerfully to physical alignment. It gives you real-time feedback, helps you see the patterns that are causing trouble, and gently supports new habits that keep your back and the rest of your body feeling its best. With each meditation session and with each mindful pause during everyday life, these benefits compound, making alignment and comfort a normal, sustainable part of your experience. The connection between mind and body becomes obvious, creating a whole new relationship to your health and movement that's both practical and reliable. When you start practicing mindful posture and awareness, you open the door to another powerful Buddhist technique, visualization and inner awareness, for releasing chronic back pain. This isn't about ignoring pain or telling yourself it doesn't exist. It's about giving yourself a different way of understanding and working through discomfort. Visualization is commonly used by Buddhist monks and meditation teachers, especially for people who notice their pain or tension isn't just physical, but feels connected to emotions or stress. The process is simple, yet incredibly effective, and you do not need advanced spiritual skills to tap into it. You just need a bit of curiosity, a willingness to notice what's happening in your body, tea and a few quiet moments to focus. Let's talk about how visualization fits into a typical meditation session. After settling into a comfortable position, sitting, lying down, or even standing, you usually start with a body scan or a few slow breaths to check in with how you feel. Instead of jumping straight to action, you spend a minute or two just noticing your back, shoulders, and hips. Is there a spot that feels dull, sore, tight, or unusual? Visualization enters when you bring your mind's eye to focus on that spot. Instead of thinking, "this hurts," you gently picture what's going on there. Some people imagine their pain as a dark cloud, a knot, or a heavy block. The shape doesn't matter. Just go with whatever naturally pops up for you. The act of seeing it, instead of avoiding or fighting it, is often enough to begin softening the area. Once you have a mental image, you can start to work with it in several ways. One common method is to imagine your in-breath drawing clean, bright, healing air toward the area of tension. With the exhale, picture that cloud, knot, or heaviness slowly dissolving, shrinking, or being carried away. Sometimes the breath is visualized as a warm light, a gentle breeze, or a stream flowing through the tense muscle. By repeating this cycle, most people notice the pain either starts to move, maybe it floats to a new area, gets smaller, or changes shape, or the intensity drops a little. This doesn't mean all pain vanishes, especially for old injuries or very chronic patterns, but even a 10% reduction is often enough to shift your mood and bring hope. There are plenty of guided meditations available that use visualization in different ways. Some walk you through imagining your spine bathed in warm golden light, each vertebra glowing or softening in turn. Others invite you to see healing energy, perhaps as blue coolness or soothing warmth, slowly working its way up the back and out through your neck or legs. A few traditions use colours, sounds, or even gentle movement, like picturing the breath combing through tight spots, to support the mind-body connection. These techniques often have more to do with biology than New Age ideas. When you imagine warmth, for instance, your body often responds with increased circulation to the area. If you focus on lightness, muscles may relax naturally. Our minds and bodies are constantly talking, and visualization gives you a way to send helpful messages straight to the source of the pain. This process is so useful for chronic spinal pain because these deeper aches can be stubborn and come with strong emotional associations. You might notice your pain flares up during arguments, or when you feel overwhelmed by work or family responsibilities. When you're stressed, your nervous system is already on high alert, making pain signals even louder. Through visualization, you can teach your mind to respond differently. Not only are you soothing the body, but you are also dissolving some of the emotional charge that keeps discomfort stuck. With practice, what used to be a reliable pain trigger loses its power. Bit by bit, the nervous system stops overreacting, and healing can progress more smoothly. Another core part of this technique is building inner awareness. Instead of zoning out or resisting pain, Buddhist meditation encourages you to be as present as possible. When a wave of discomfort comes up, you pause and bring your full attention there, asking quietly, "What exactly am I feeling?" Sometimes you find the pain is sharper or larger than expected. Sometimes it's smaller. You might notice it's not steady all the time. Maybe it pulses, throbs, or changes when you breathe or move. Bringing this curious, non-judgmental awareness often uncovers things you didn't expect. For example, you realize that as you focus on the pain, a memory, emotion, or specific thought arises. There might be sadness, anger, or anxiety attached to the spot. Inner awareness gives you a chance to notice the bigger picture. Pain is rarely just physical. It almost always carries a message or pattern waiting to be seen and gently released. Over weeks of practice, you get familiar with the character of your pain rather than being blindsided every time it appears. You don't have to fix it right away. Sometimes you just witness it, seeing pain as energy, not a curse. One day it might soften, shrink, or move, and the change becomes easier as your relationship with it evolves. Pain becomes just another sensation, not the boss of your life. Let's get a little practical. Suppose you sit down for meditation and notice an aching spot in your lower back. Instead of ignoring it or shifting immediately, you bring your attention there. You imagine the ache as a ball or cloud. With every breath in, you visualize gentle warmth or light surrounding it. With every breath out, you see the cloud thinning or shrinking. Maybe after several rounds, you sense the pain decrease. Or maybe you realize it was linked to a stressful day at work or a bad night's sleep. Instead of feeling helpless, you start to feel empowered, like you can work with your body, not just be a victim of what it's feeling. Many people find it useful to add gentle movements along with visualization. For example, as you breathe out and see a pain cloud softening, you let your shoulders drop, or gently sway your spine. Linking physical movement with mental imagery makes the process more tangible, giving your nervous system double feedback that it's safe to relax. Others use gentle self-touch, resting a hand over the painful area, bringing warmth and reassurance. Touch reinforces the feeling of care and attention and often deepens the sense of release. Some meditation teachers use verbal cues to reinforce visualization. If you're guiding yourself or listening to a recording, you might hear phrases like, "Let your lower back soften as you breathe," or "See your spine surrounded by gentle light." These cues help you focus, keeping your attention on the healing process rather than getting distracted by outside thoughts. Over time, you may find a favorite phrase or image that helps you relax most deeply. A growing body of scientific research backs up the value of visualization for pain. Brain scans show that imagining warmth, light, or movement in a painful body part can lead to real, detectable changes in muscle tone, blood flow, and neural activity. In other words, even though you're just imagining, things are actually happening in the body. This is because the brain processes both actual experience and strong, clear imagination in similar ways. Athletes have used mental rehearsal for decades to improve performance, and now pain clinics often teach visualization for chronic conditions like fibromyalgia, headaches, and persistent back pain. The more detailed and emotionally engaging your visualization, the bigger the effect tends to be. Visualization also helps you see progress over time, which is crucial for people dealing with long-standing pain. Sometimes you'll notice a particular spot is less angry or dense than the last session. Some days it shifts elsewhere, some days it all but disappears. Trying to notice and celebrate these tiny changes builds motivation to keep practicing and sends a signal to your brain and body that healing is actually happening. Inner awareness, deeply tuning in to what your body is telling you, has extra benefits too. It makes you less likely to overdo things physically, since you learn to sense early warning signs. You catch yourself before lifting something heavy or sitting too long in a way that might aggravate your back. You also become more compassionate with yourself. Instead of getting frustrated about pain, you accept it as information, adjusting your life, posture, or habits as needed. This gentleness lowers stress and helps recovery. People who bring inner awareness to their daily life often find not only pain lessening, but energy improving, sleep deepening, and mood stabilizing. You don't need a strict script to use visualization. Some people picture their spine as a tree growing taller with each breath, others as a river of light or a stack of golden coins. Go with whatever feels natural or soothing. The power of the technique is in the personal connection. As long as you're tuning in mindfully and not zoning out, your nervous system gets the signal that things are safe and can release layers of old holding. Visualization and inner awareness are also helpful for flare-ups, those challenging days when everything feels worse. Sometimes just taking 5 or 10 minutes to pause, breathe, and send positive, gentle images to your body can prevent pain from spiraling out of control. For many, this becomes a key part of their home toolkit for self-care, whether before bed, after work, or any time back pain bothers them during the day. People have also found value in combining guided imagery with regular reminders or rituals. Maybe it's meditating before breakfast, pausing during lunch, or ending the workday with a check-in. The more often you practice, the more your body trusts the process, and the easier it becomes to let go. Over months or even years, this cumulative effect can change the course of chronic pain patterns. It's worth noting that there are no strict rules or limitations about who can use these Buddhist-inspired visualization practices. Whether you've never meditated before or you've suffered back pain for decades, starting gently and gradually building a relationship with your body is always possible. People recovering from surgery, pregnant women, teenagers, and seniors have all found ways to adapt these techniques. The goal is not perfect silence, but honest engagement with whatever your back is experiencing at the moment. Visualization is often paired with compassionate language in mindfulness traditions. You might say to yourself, "It's okay that you feel this discomfort," or "Thank you back for all the work you do." This self-soothing attitude is far from indulgent. It engages a part of the nervous system involved in recovery and repair, sometimes called the relaxation response. When you treat your pain with kindness instead of frustration, your body is more likely to cooperate and let tension dissolve. Some people like to write or draw after meditation, recording what they visualized or how their pain changed during the session. This creative step makes the inner work more real, offering insight into patterns and progress. Over time, looking back at journal entries or sketches, you can often see a pattern of improvement, even through setbacks. This evidence is incredibly motivating, especially on bad days. You might find that as you work with these methods, your understanding of the root causes behind chronic pain deepens. Maybe you notice certain situations or feelings often precede flare-ups. This awareness lets you tweak your routines, taking more breaks, stretching earlier, or planning moments of quiet into your schedule. The payoff, for many, goes beyond back pain. You gain a toolkit for handling stress, emotional ups and downs, and even other aches or illnesses that show up elsewhere. In group meditation settings, visualization takes on even more power. When several people practice together, sharing quiet attention, there is often an unspoken sense of support. Even if each person is working on their own discomfort or challenges, the joint focus seems to make imagery more vivid and relaxation more complete. Teachers often remind newcomers not to worry about getting it right. Visualization is not about performance, it's about staying present, with an open mind to sensations, images, and changes as they come and go. If you get distracted, lost, or frustrated, simply returning attention to breath or your chosen image is enough. The accessibility of visualization and inner awareness is one of its strongest features. You don't need equipment, lots of time, or even a silent space. 5 minutes before work, in bed before sleep, during a break at lunch, any of these times work. You are giving your nervous system a way to process stored pain, stress, and emotion, and inviting your body to leave behind patterns that are no longer useful. When you stick with these Buddhist-inspired visualization and awareness exercises day by day, their effect builds. Over weeks and months, you often notice that not only does your back feel better, but you worry less, handle stress more smoothly, and even move with more confidence and ease. The process is gentle but powerful, a compassionate check-in that unlocks the body's natural capacity to relax, recover, and find balance again, especially when it comes to long-standing spinal discomfort and chronic pain. Most people, regardless of starting point, can learn to transform how they relate to back pain through these accessible, thoughtful practices, layering imagery, gentle presence, and curiosity in a process that becomes easier and more effective the more you use it. A big part of making visualization and awareness truly work for back pain and general healing is the mindset you bring to your practice. That's where intention and learning to let go becomes surprisingly important, especially in Buddhist approaches to health and recovery. While meditation and mindful movement have practical physical effects, the inner mental approach can shape whether those benefits get blocked or are allowed to unfold. Setting a clear intention before you start any meditation or posture session gives you a kind of focus that the body and mind both respond to. At the same time, the willingness to release, not just muscle tension but old stories, fears, or expectations about pain, often makes the difference between staying stuck and actually feeling better. Buddhist teaching puts a lot of emphasis on intention. Before monks begin a meditation or healing session focused on the spine, they spend a moment thinking about what they want from the experience. This isn't just daydreaming, it's an honest mental statement. I want to support my back. I'm willing to listen to what my pain has to say. I'm here to care for my body, not just fight against discomfort. By saying something like this to yourself at the start, you direct your attention towards healing rather than resistance or frustration. Intention works almost like setting a destination before you start a journey. It brings a sense of purpose to your practice and subtly changes how your nervous system, breath, and muscles respond. The act of letting go is just as important. Most of us, whether we realize it or not, have a habit of holding on to pain. Sometimes we do this because pain has been around for so long that it's become part of how we see ourselves. Sometimes we fear what might happen if we relax. What if pain means we're injured? Or what if we let go and get hurt again? Buddhist meditation gently challenges these patterns by inviting people to notice resistance without judgment and allow it to soften. In a practical sense, this might look like breathing in, noticing where fear or tightness sits in your back, and then exhaling with the willingness to soften even one small part of that feeling. Intention and letting go are not about ignoring pain or pretending to be positive when you're really not. It's about recognizing the human habit of gripping, resisting, or worrying, and then slowly opening up to a new way of being with discomfort. When you start with intention, every breath and movement has a purpose. When you pair that focus with real, honest letting go, your muscles and nerves can finally relax. sometimes for the first time in years. People often describe it as feeling lighter or noticing the pain melt, even if they haven't fixed the underlying physical issue yet. Let's break this down with a real-world example. Suppose you have ongoing lower back pain and you've gotten into the habit of tensing your whole body every time you stand up. You decide to try a short meditation or body scan. Before you start, you take a minute to set an intention. I'm going to listen to my body and trust that it knows how to release tension. As you go through the meditation, you notice old feelings of frustration or worry coming up and your mind telling you pain will never go away. Instead of arguing with yourself or trying to forcefully relax, you simply acknowledge those thoughts. Thank your body for getting your attention and then breathe out, picturing the tension leaving with your breath. Small as it sounds, this moment of willingness to let go can be the spark that starts deeper, unwinding and healing. For many people, the turning point in addressing chronic back pain is this moment of surrender, no longer fighting against the discomfort or feeling locked in a battle with your own body, but opening to a different approach. Letting go doesn't mean you give up on getting better. In fact, it's the opposite. When you stop clinging to old habits, fixed expectations, or the need for instant results, you make room for new sensations, relaxation, and slow shifts to happen. Pain may still be present, but you're not making it the enemy. Your nervous system interprets this shift in attitude as safety, allowing the body to drop defenses and open up to recovery. Intentions also help keep your practice grounded. Some days you might set an intention for physical healing, something direct like, I want my back to feel loose and free. Other days, your focus might be emotional. I want to let go of worry or anger about my pain. Still other times, your intention could be simply to be patient and stick with the practice, regardless of how your back feels that day. Whenever your mind wanders during meditation or your body tenses up, you can quietly recall your intention and steer your focus back. In this way, intention acts like a compass, gently guiding your effort without pressure or blame. Letting go is supported by various meditation techniques. Sometimes, after taking a deep breath and feeling a tight spot, you can say, out loud or silently, "It's okay to let this go now." You might imagine the pain, tension, or emotional burden dropping away, like setting down a heavy bag you've carried for far too long. Science even backs up the effect of this kind of mental release. Studies find that people using self-compassion and gentle acceptance show better pain outcomes and feel less stressed overall. It's also very common for emotions to surface when you learn to set clear intentions and release resistance. Sometimes you may feel frustrated, sad, or even angry about your pain. These feelings can trigger more tension in your back or make your posture stiffen up without your realizing it. Letting yourself feel the emotion, breathing through it, and bringing your focus back to healing intention makes it easier for tight muscles to finally relax. Emotional letting go is no different from physical letting go. It's just a different layer of the same process. A lot of chronic pain is maintained not just by physical problems, but by mental patterns of worry and anticipation. When you expect to hurt, you brace for pain and your body obeys, tensing up before you even move. By making a habit of intention, today I won't brace, I will breathe and notice, and matching that with the willingness to let go of old fears, you break this pain cycle from both ends. People who do this consistently find they recover from flare-ups faster and feel more resilient over time. Some Buddhist teachers encourage students to write down their daily intentions before a meditation session, then, at the end, jot a few notes about how letting go showed up during the practice. This makes the process more visible and helps you spot progress, even on days that feel tough. You might notice, for example, that it's getting easier to set down anger or anxiety when pain spikes up, or that sessions where you start with a positive intention often leave you feeling noticeably lighter. Another practical tip is to use gentle, affirmative self-talk during meditation. Phrases like, "I'm willing to heal," "my back can let go," or "this pain doesn't define me," can feel awkward at first, but often have a surprising effect. Even if you don't fully believe them yet, repeating them gives your mind and body new material to work with. Over time, the messages start to sink in, working subconsciously to lower resistance and make relaxation easier. Physical letting go often has an immediate effect. When you pair a deep breath with a clear intention like, "I release this," the nervous system drops out of fight or flight mode. Your heartbeat can slow, muscles soften, and sometimes even digestive or breathing patterns change for the better. People frequently notice their posture improves without much conscious effort. shoulders unhunch, the jaw releases, and the spine returns to a natural, easy curve. The beauty of this approach is its flexibility. No matter what your pain story is, whether your discomfort is old or new, from an injury or from years of stress, you can set intentions that speak directly to your condition. Even if your goal is as modest as, "I want to feel a bit more comfortable today," that small step is still a move toward health. The consistency of coming back to this process, even in short sessions, is what builds real improvement. Some meditation practitioners use objects like a smooth stone or a meaningful token to help symbolize letting go. Holding the object while you meditate and then setting it down as you finish can make the act of release more concrete. Others use visualization, picturing burdens floating away like leaves on a stream or melting like ice as warmth flows through their back. Creating a kind, encouraging environment for your practice supports this whole process. That might mean a quiet room, soothing music, or dimmed lights. Or it could just mean shutting your eyes where you are and telling yourself, "This next 5 minutes is for intention and letting go, nothing else." You don't have to be strict or serious, just open, curious, and gentle with yourself. For people worried about giving up by letting go, it helps to remember that letting go is an active, courageous choice. It's the freedom to choose a new response to old pain. It doesn't mean pain will vanish instantly, nor does it mean ignoring what's wrong. It means dropping the mental struggle, the pressure to fix everything at once, and allowing the body to do what it's naturally wired for: recovery, adaptation, and new strength. Science supports the idea that intention and letting go play a huge role in healing. Research shows that people who focus on what they hope to achieve rather than on what they fear tend to recover faster from chronic pain conditions. Similarly, practices focused on acceptance and surrender consistently reduce feelings of helplessness, depression, and even pain intensity. In group meditation or in healing retreats, the act of setting group intentions often brings a strong sense of community and motivation. People find it easier to let go when they know others are doing the same, and group energy can support deeper releases than practicing alone. Over weeks or months of regular practice, intention setting and letting go make a trackable difference. You may notice periods of pain shrinking in length or intensity. You catch yourself bracing less often, moving more freely, or being less bothered when discomfort does show up. It's common for other life stresses, unrelated to your back, to become easier to manage. The habits you build here are transferable to other challenges, from anxiety and sadness to daily frustrations. To sum it up, intention points your mind and body in the direction you want to go, while letting go creates the conditions for that journey to succeed. Together, they shape the landscape of meditation, from something that's just routine or mechanical into a living, evolving process. Every time you set out to meditate with the goal of supporting your back, and every time you let go of outcome or judgment, you're giving yourself a gift that builds over time. For many, this mindset shift is the missing ingredient that lets the other elements, breath, posture, visualization, stillness, finally come together into a truly effective practice for spinal healing. By coming back over and over to this blend of intention and release, you allow the wisdom of your body to show itself, and you build a real foundation for lasting recovery and resilience. Intention isn't a guarantee that pain will be gone overnight, and letting go doesn't make you passive. Instead, it makes you active in a way that creates space for healing, creativity, and comfort to grow wherever you need it most, especially through the challenges of spinal pain and ongoing recovery. Making intention and letting go central to your daily routine does not mean stepping away from real life. Actually, it allows you to begin applying everything you have learned about Buddhist meditation poses and spinal healing right where you are every day. The good news is you don't have to go off to a monastery or completely change your schedule to experience these benefits. Everyday people, with all kinds of work hours, family responsibilities, and sometimes chaotic lives, have found ways to build these meditation techniques right into their daily rhythms, and this kind of simple practicality is why they work so well over the long run. One of the most effective ways to start is by creating micro pockets of practice in the times you already have. Instead of carving out a whole hour, you might try 5 or 10 minutes in the morning or at night, or even a couple of quiet breaks throughout the day. For many, the easiest entry point is to use the first few minutes after waking up. You do not need any fancy equipment. Just sit up in bed or in a comfortable chair, make sure your feet are flat on the floor or your body is grounded, and settle into your meditation posture. Take a minute to check in with your back and your breath. Even with just 5 deep, conscious breaths and a bit of attention, the spine can start the day feeling more more open and supported. For people who spend most of their time at a desk or in front of a screen, there are great ways to build in movement and check your posture even during work. Try setting a timer or reminder for every 45 or 60 minutes. When it goes off, stand up if you can, straighten your spine, and do a couple of the meditation poses or mindful stretches you have learned. It could be something as small as a gentle seated twist, shoulder rolls, or pressing your feet firmly into the ground and feeling your spine grow tall. While it might sound too easy, these mini breaks prevent tension from building up and signal your mind and body to let go of unnecessary tension before it turns into pain. Many people find it helpful to choose one posture as their go-to for the start and end of the day. This could be the classic easy cross-legged seat, a firm but comfortable chair position, or if your body needs it, even lying flat on your back. Setting the same posture at predictable moments helps your nervous system settle. It's almost like telling your body, now we're entering meditation mode, which can make relaxation come more quickly, even on busy or stressful days. If mornings and evenings are hard because of busy schedules or young children, consider stacking your meditation time onto daily habits already in place. For example, after brushing your teeth, pause for 3 slow breaths with mindful attention to your back and posture. Or, as you boil water for coffee or tea, use the waiting time to run a mini body scan, quickly checking for places you feel tight or limited. Let these background routines turn into small meditative check-ins, helping you create an effortless habit without rearranging your entire day. Those working from home or who have flexible schedules can take things a step further by experimenting with meditation poses throughout the morning or afternoon. You might start with 5 minutes seated after breakfast, do a standing meditation or gentle walking practice before lunch, and maybe lie down for a 10-minute guided body scan late in the day. Each change of posture refreshes the body and brings new awareness to different parts of the spine. Over the weeks, you will likely notice less afternoon fatigue, fewer headaches, and a clearer mind just from working these mindful pauses into your routine. If your days are packed, you can also use hidden moments for mindfulness and alignment. While waiting for an elevator, sitting on public transportation, or standing in a checkout line, take a few seconds to bring attention to your back and posture. Drop your shoulders, lengthen your neck, and gently check that your spine feels centered. Or simply link your awareness to your breath. Inhale deeply and slowly, letting the breath travel down the length of your spine, and exhale just as gently. Nobody around you needs to know you are doing it, and these tiny practices add up, especially on busy days. At work, some people set up their chairs or workstations to support their meditation posture, bringing elements of spinal alignment into regular tasks. This could mean sitting on a small cushion or folding towel to slightly tilt the hips forward, stacking books under your feet if your chair is too high, or adjusting the position of your monitor to keep your head and chin from jutting forward. Every time you slide into your desk, do a quick reset of your body scan, checking the natural curves of your spine and resetting your breath if you catch yourself slouching. For those in more physically demanding jobs, meditation poses can act as recovery tools during breaks. Say you work in retail, healthcare, or construction where your back might be under repeated stress. Just before or after a shift, or even during a lunch break, use a gentle forward fold, a simple twist, or a supported lying down pose to help undo accumulated tightness. A few minutes of focused breathing or visualization can make a huge difference in comfort and energy by the end of the shift. Outside of work hours, many people find a few spare moments in the car or on the bus to do mindful practice, relaxed, with eyes open, but bringing attention to the spine, breath, and posture. Turn red lights or train stops into cues to release tension. Unclench your jaw, relax your shoulders, press your back lightly against the seat, and check that your weight is evenly distributed. This training carries over so that over time, even the act of sitting or standing brings less tension overall. Family life, with its unpredictability and constant movement, is often seen as a barrier to meditation, but it does not have to be. If you have children, involving them in simple mindful breathing or stretches before dinner or bedtime can help everyone unwind. Kids often enjoy copying grown-ups, and making meditation a family game can bring surprising calmness to the household. You might even have a quiet minute together in the living room where everyone notices their breath or tries a gentle, playful pose. Not only does it help your own spine, but it can make a big difference in children's ability to manage stress and restlessness too. For people with limited mobility or chronic pain, daily integration is about working with the forms and modifications that fit your needs. If sitting on the floor is uncomfortable or not possible, try using a firm chair with good support, putting a rolled towel behind the lower back or under the feet, or lying down with legs up on a cushion. The point is not the perfect pose, but one that allows you some sense of groundedness and comfort while you focus on breath and awareness. Even a minute or two per session is enough to build new habits over time. Technology can serve as a powerful ally for integrating Buddhist meditation and healing poses into your regular life. There are countless apps and online guided meditations that offer reminders, track how often you practice, and suggest short practices suited for breaks or bedtime rituals. A lot of these programs offer guided body scans, breathing practices, or even animated tutorials on proper posture and alignment. You can choose a morning alarm that tells you time to check your posture, or subscribe to daily emails with mini reminders to breathe and relax your back. Staying accountable can be easier when you bring a friend or family member into your routine. This could look like texting each other a pause and breathe reminder a few times a week, or sharing which meditation posture or practice helped you that day. Some people set challenges who can remember to do a mindful check-in before lunch every day for a week. Having a partner or support group brings encouragement on days when you do not feel like pausing, and accountability gently builds consistency, which is the real key to results. Meditative traditions emphasize that there is no magic number of minutes or hours you must practice per day. 5 minutes here and there will do far more for your back than planning for an hour-long session once per month and then abandoning it. Find places in your schedule that are consistent, before meetings, waiting for dinner to cook, after workouts, and anchor your posture check or breathing moment to those times. Within a month or two, the habit feels natural, and your body craves that brief daily check-in. As you grow more comfortable, you might find inspiration to deepen your practice, perhaps adding an extra meditation pose, a longer body scan, or a few more minutes spent in focused breathing or visualization. On tougher days, let yourself return to the basics, just one mindful breath and one posture check. Progress isn't linear, and sometimes the greatest strides come on the days when you simply remember to pause and care for your spine, no matter how simple that action seems. If you attend yoga, Pilates, or another movement class, try blending a Buddhist meditation pose or mindful check-in at the end, using that moment of calm to bring extra healing and awareness to your spine. Group settings often help people stay accountable and introduce new options for alignment and pose variation. It is completely normal to get distracted or even forget your practice some days. When this happens, just start again the next day or in the next free moment. The power is in showing up repeatedly, training your nervous system through repetition. No day is wasted, and every single mindful moment adds up to lasting changes for both your back and your overall well-being. Travel schedules challenge routine, but you can adapt meditation to nearly any environment, in a hotel bed, during a flight, or standing in line at the airport. Even squeezing in knee hugs, shoulder shrugs, or simple seated poses keeps the body awake and spinal muscles from locking up. Taking your meditation poses on the road gives you a portable solution to the stress, stiffness, and chaos that often come with being away from home. On weekends or days off, you might explore longer, slightly deeper versions of the 13 healing meditation poses. Switch up your environment by meditating outside, or invite a friend or loved one to join you for a session. The shift in setting and company brings new energy to the practice and can highlight subtle tensions or habits you hadn't noticed during regular week routines. One underrated method for remembering daily practice is using visual cues. For instance, placing a special cushion, folded blanket, or even a small object like a stone or reminder card somewhere you see every morning can be a silent nudge to pause and check your posture or settle into a pose for a few minutes. After a while, your mind and muscles associate this cue with a moment of calm and spinal support, so returning to it becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. Integrating Buddhist meditation poses and spinal healing habits into life is not about squeezing more to-dos into your schedule. It is about layering small, sustainable moments of attention, breath, and movement into your day, enough to keep stress from piling on. The benefit of this approach is the freedom and flexibility it offers. You can adjust based on your needs and what the day allows. Ultimately, the secret is not the length or complexity of the practice, but the gentle, steady return to awareness and alignment. By building regular moments for Buddhist meditation poses into daily life, You strengthen your spine, reduce pain, and give yourself more energy and calm to bring to everything else you do. Whether at work, home, or on the road, the tools are always within reach, waiting for a quiet, attentive breath and a few mindful moments devoted to your own health and ease. When you see how easy it can be to fit healing poses and mindfulness into regular life, it's natural to feel curious about what kind of change is actually possible. In fact, there's a growing collection of real stories and scientific research showing how these Buddhist-inspired practices help people with stubborn back pain, sometimes after years or even decades of failed attempts with other treatments. Those changes are not just about feeling a bit lighter after meditation, but in many cases about transforming the way people live, move, and relate to pain day to day. Take real people first. One common thing you hear from those who've relied on meditation and mindful posture is that they often tried everything else first. Many mention years of stretching routines, endless trips to physical therapists, painkillers, or even more drastic steps like injections or surgery. For example, there's the experience of a woman in her early 40s who developed severe lower back pain after an accident. She was already seeing a specialist every month, taking regular medication, wearing a special brace, and starting to feel desperate because nothing gave lasting relief. Out of other options, a friend convinced her to try guided mindfulness meditation focused on her body and breath, combined with gentle, spine-friendly poses. Initially, she was skeptical. She thought just sitting and breathing would change nothing. But after about 3 weeks of daily practice, even just 10 minutes at a time, she noticed her pain wasn't as intense when waking up in the morning. By week 6, she was sleeping better and stopped needing strong painkillers at night. The most surprising thing to her, she said, was how learning to notice her posture throughout the day was what really made the difference. She wasn't slumping on the couch or sitting hunched over her phone as much, and her body stopped screaming for attention. There's also the case of a software engineer who started experiencing sharp mid-back pain in his late 20s. He worked long hours at a desk and tried ergonomic chairs, new mattresses, and a long list of exercises without much luck. When he finally went to a pain clinic, he was introduced to a physical therapist who also taught meditation. At first, he described it as weird and way outside his comfort zone, but the therapist encouraged him to keep going, even just 5 minutes a night. Over 3 months, he started tracking his pain on a little chart. Instead of his pain staying constant, he could see clear dips on days after he meditated. He realized that stress about deadlines made his pain much worse, and that he was unconsciously tightening his shoulders and neck all day long. Learning to pause and scan his body, something the therapist called micro-meditation, became his main tool. After 1 year, he'd stopped needing prescription muscle relaxants entirely, and only rarely popped an over-the-counter pill. He's since become the posture police in his office, showing co-workers how to adjust their seats and sneak mini meditation breaks into the workday. Stories pop up across all age groups. Elderly adults aren't left out. There's a retired teacher in her 70s who felt like back stiffness was just a fact of life after decades in the classroom. Group sessions at her senior center included gentle Buddhist meditation postures, mindful movement, and slow breathing. It took a month for her to even grow comfortable sitting still, but over the next 2 months, she described feeling lighter, like my spine isn't carrying a bag of rocks anymore. Other seniors in her group reported fewer falls and more confidence while walking. These are not isolated incidents, but part of a bigger pattern seen around the globe. Children and teenagers have also benefited. In one school pilot program in North America, students with persistent headaches and upper back tension joined a mindfulness class using Buddhist-based sitting poses and breath awareness. Reports from teachers and parents said kids were fidgeting less and complaining less about back pain. Some kids even showed their siblings how to sit tall like a mountain during arguments or homework, reporting that it helped them calm down, focus, and even sleep better. What makes these stories more convincing is that clinical research is now catching up, putting numbers and measurable changes to what everyday people are experiencing. Medical journals from the last 10 or 15 years are full of case studies and controlled trials focused on meditation, posture, and their impact on chronic back pain. For instance, a widely cited study from the year 2016 followed over 300 people with lower back pain for 8 weeks. One group used standard care, physical therapy, pain medication, and advice to keep active. The other group added regular mindfulness meditation sessions that included posture work and breath awareness. At the end of the study, those in the meditation group had bigger drops in pain scores, reported less disability, and needed fewer medications. Even more telling, after a follow-up 6 months later, many in the meditation group had maintained their progress. Other studies used modern technology, like before and after MRI scans or digital posture trackers. In one project, patients with chronic mid and low back pain learned a structured program mixing Buddhist sitting poses, mindful walking, and daily breath work. After 12 weeks, scans and measurements showed less spinal inflammation and improved alignment, and patients reported fewer days of severe pain per month. A similar study in Europe took people with long-term back pain that hadn't responded to traditional care and taught them a simple daily sequence of Buddhist-inspired stretches, sitting postures, and 5-minute meditation breaks 3 times per day. By the end of the program, over 60% of participants reported at least a 50% reduction in pain, better sleep, and more energy. Detailed case studies also show physical changes. For example, a 45-year-old woman with scoliosis joined a meditation-based spinal care group. She practiced kneeling and reclined poses, along with guided visualizations focused on bringing gentle awareness and kindness to her spine. Imaging before and after the 3-month course revealed less spinal curvature and muscle tightness, while she reported less daily pain and reduced need for anti-inflammatory medication. Doctors described her case as surprising because her progress came after years of slow decline using only conventional therapy. Mindfulness-based interventions have also helped people avoid surgery. A man in his 50s scheduled for spinal fusion after a decade of worsening pain found a clinic program that combined gentle Buddhist movement and seated meditation. 3 months later, he told his surgeon he had little pain left and wanted to postpone surgery. After a further 6 months, with the support of his primary care doctor, he cancelled the operation. In follow-ups, he credited his continued improvement to daily breathwork and posture awareness, admitting he's still not flexible, but at least I can pick up my grandkids. Not every person has a dramatic story, and not all pain disappears overnight. But common threads run through the testimonials. Many say pain starts to move around, getting less stuck in one spot, and sometimes vanishes for several hours or days at a time. People usually notice sleep improving first, then their overall mood, and over time, greater ease with movement. One of the most consistent findings is that the more often people practice, the bigger their improvement, but even short daily sessions seem to work. Importantly, nearly everyone using these techniques says that feeling less fear and frustration toward their back is nearly as meaningful as the relief from pain itself. Scientific explanations support this shift. Multiple studies show that meditation actually changes how the brain interprets pain signals. Instead of letting the brain amplify discomfort, meditation training helps different brain areas turn down the volume on pain, allowing people to feel more in control. Mindfulness interventions also seem to lower inflammation markers in the blood, ease cortisol spikes, a stress hormone linked to muscle tension and back pain, and help reset breathing and muscle tone around the spine. Other research looks at posture. Using wearable sensors, researchers watch how people stand, sit, or walk before and after posture meditation interventions. These studies consistently find that regular meditation practice makes people more aware of small slouches, biases, or asymmetries in their posture and encourages quicker correction. Better posture means less long-term strain, fewer pinched nerves, and better spinal health, especially as we age. The science also highlights a mental ripple effect. People practicing Buddhist meditation postures become more tuned in to emotional stress, noticing its effect on their bodies early rather than after pain hits. This awareness encourages proactive rather than reactive self-care, such as stretching, walking, or resting before pain worsens. Doctors see this as a huge win because it prevents small issues from snowballing into chronic pain that disrupts business, family life, or sports. Another part of the story is accessibility. Many of the people who benefit the most from meditation-based spinal care are not flexible yogis or gym regulars. In published case studies, participants ranged from teenagers to those in their late 80s, from office workers and teachers to factory workers and professional drivers. The only consistent factors for success were a willingness to try, regular short sessions, and a supportive environment, sometimes from a teacher or peer group, sometimes just self-guided with a book or app. For those worried about doing it wrong, research shows that even imperfect practice makes a difference. In one trial, participants were free to change meditation poses and experiment with seated, standing, reclining, or walking postures depending on comfort. Those who adapted the practices for injuries or limitations did just as well as those who followed strict guidance. This robustness means that even days when the practice feels distracted or brief are still worthwhile. Culturally, meditation is becoming more widely recommended, not only in wellness circles but in mainstream medicine and physical therapy. Hospitals, pain clinics, and rehab centers are running group classes in Buddhist meditation, mindful movement, and breath-focused posture work. Insurance companies and public health programs are taking an interest because the data shows lower medication usage, fewer missed workdays, and less demand for costly surgeries among those who keep up the practice. For families, the benefits often ripple outward. People who stick with their meditation and posture work report better energy, more patience, and improved relationships at home. Partners, kids, and friends often join in, practicing together, sometimes starting just as a joke but noticing real difference in their comfort, flexibility, and mood. One more powerful piece comes from follow-up data. Research subjects who continued meditation and mindful posture practices for 1 to 2 years after their initial studies reported not only stable or improved spinal health, but a drop in doctor visits for other stress or pain-related issues. Their satisfaction with health stayed high, and their attitude towards setbacks, injuries, or flare-ups was more relaxed. This long-term resilience seems to come not just from improved body mechanics, but from the habit of self-awareness, non-judgmental attention, and letting go of panic in difficult moments. To sum up, the change Buddhist meditation poses and mindfulness can make for spinal health is not a quick fix or a miracle, but a real, measurable, and lasting improvement for all types of people. Whether you're just starting, returning after an injury, or have tried everything else, these techniques offer tools that are both easy to use and backed up by science and countless personal stories. A simple daily routine adapted to your life can build a strong, flexible back, reduce stress and frustration, and create new ways to relate to pain that empower rather than trap you. Step by step, small sessions and regular attention can lead to big transformations, ones you notice in the way you wake up, move through work, enjoy family, and age with comfort and confidence.